Viewers, before we dive in, drop your location and local time in the comments. I want to know where in the world you're watching this story unfold. Now picture this Lucas Parker, 45 civil engineer coffee mug, permanently attached to his hand. Thinks he's settling into quiet suburban bliss with his wife, Megan. They've just moved from cramped San Diego apartments into Moonage Heights, the kind of place with lawns trimmed like military haircuts and neighbors who argue about mailbox paint shades. Megan says she needs a 6-foot privacy fence for her home office, nothing unusual, at least not until Kyle Morrison appears. Kyle struts up in a tactical vest at 7 in the morning, clipboard in hand, snapping photos like he's auditioning for CSI Suburbia. Historians still argue whether this was the moment Kyle went from quirky neighbor to full-blown HOA tyrant, but for Lucas, it was the start of something weird. Megan, the gentle, yoga-doing, cookie-baking wife, suddenly shifts her stance. Shoulders squared, eyes scanning exits, she studies Kyle's hands like he might pull a weapon instead of a tape measure. Lucas chalks it up to nerves. In reality, she's doing a silent threat assessment. When Kyle announces, "Ma'am, this fence violates community standards," his badge clatters right off his vest and onto their porch. Lucas nearly laughs into his coffee, but Megan doesn't even smile. She memorizes his every movement like she's cataloging evidence. Moments later, Harold Brennan shuffles in silver hair, kindly eyes, retired attorney vibes. He offers to mediate with the warmth of a grandfather, but there's something rehearsed about how he places himself between them like he's positioning pawns on a chessboard. Megan notes it. Lucas just sees a helpful neighbor. The next week, they get a legal notice from a Gmail account called Legal Eagle 47, written in Comic Sans with lawyer spelled wrong. Lucas laughs so hard he nearly spills his coffee. Megan, meanwhile, photographs it from every angle like she's preserving the Dead Sea Scrolls. She even bags a childish note later on. "Your fence is ugly," as if it's evidence for trial. Lucas teases her for overreacting. She just says, "Honey, you never know when proof will matter." Kyle doesn't stop. He patrols the street in a white SUV with yellow lights from Home Depot, practicing his police voice so loudly neighbors hear him through open windows. His favorite target, Megan. "Your wife's attitude is destroying property values," he yells. Lucas wants to punch him, but Megan lays a calming hand on his arm and whispers, "Let them talk." What looks like passivity is actually tactical patience. She's recording everything on her phone while playing dumb housewife. By now, whispers ripple through Moonage Heights. Jessica Morrison films Megan with her iPhone like she's tracking an exotic bird, muttering, "I heard she doesn't even have a real job." Megan smiles, nods, lets them underestimate her. Only Lucas sees the flash of cold calculation in her eyes. He finally asks, "Why do they keep targeting you?" Her reply chills him. Sometimes people target what they don't understand. At night, Megan moves through the house with military-like precision, checking locks. Windows blind spots while Lucas lies awake, realizing his wife isn't just another suburban spouse. She's hiding something, and whatever it is, Harold and Kyle are about to stumble headfirst into it. The harassment shifts from laughable to downright sinister when Kyle decides clipboards and Comic Sans letters aren't enough. He recruits his cousin Tony, an unemployed security guard who thinks Pulse printed on a badge is close enough. One sticky afternoon, they stomp up to Lucas and Megan's porch in dollar store tactical gear. Tony's hat slides down over his eyes. Kyle's badge falls off again, and for a moment Lucas thinks he's watching a rejected Saturday Night Live skit. But then the pair reach for their weapons, Tony fumbling with a fake taser, Kyle flashing a very real handgun, and the comedy drains into something darker. Megan stays perfectly calm, speaking in a honey-sweet voice. "Officers, I don't understand what I've done wrong," she says while her eyes flick over exits and threats cataloging every detail. Lucas, on the other hand, is practically vibrating with fear. He wants to shove these idiots off the porch, but Megan gently presses his arm again. She knows one wrong move could make this theater turn deadly. Later, Lucas blurts out, "You positioned yourself like you were ready to fight two people at once. What aren't you telling me?" Megan's answer, "Lucas, I can't explain right now. Please trust me," only deepens the mystery. Meanwhile, Jessica Morrison reappears, this time with crocodile tears and apology cookies. She claims Kyle is abusive, shows off bruises that suspiciously look like CVS makeup swatches, and dramatically begs for protection. Megan entertains her story politely, but Lucas notices how his wife's eyes sharpen, testing inconsistencies, planting little lies of her own. She tells Jessica she moonlights doing tax paperwork. Hours later, Kyle is at their door waving fake IRS letters. Trap sprung. Megan studies his papers with that same satisfied half smile she wore when his badge first hit the porch. By now, Lucas realizes he's living in a spy novel. Megan bags Jessica's cold cream tissue like it's FBI evidence, labels it documentation, and slips it into a folder that seems thicker by the day. She even mutters phrases that sound straight out of an intelligence briefing: escalation patterns, coordinated harassment. Lucas overhears her whispering on the phone at night, "I might need that contact sooner than expected." Rachel from the gym, she claims, though no gym buddy he knows, talks about compromising the mission. Historians still argue whether Lucas's greatest act of denial was believing her or just not wanting the truth. Then comes the turning point. Megan casually feeds Jessica another false lead, this time about fitness business tax issues, and within 6 hours, Kyle appears waving bogus financial documents. Hook, line, and sinker. Megan's confidence in her own counterintelligence is chillingly smooth. Lucas asks where she learned such tactics. "Some clients teach you interesting problem-solving techniques." She shrugs. But the way she handles surveillance equipment later that night, tiny cameras, recording devices, even dusting fingerprints with a kit Lucas didn't know they owned, betrays more than borrowed client wisdom. Finally, Rachel herself shows up, scanning the perimeter before stepping inside. No yoga mat, no gym bag, just the poise of federal law enforcement. On the kitchen table, she spreads folders stamped with seals Lucas only half recognizes. "We've been tracking a fraud ring targeting military families," she explains. Megan listens like a professional, firing off questions about deployment schedules and target criteria with the ease of someone who sat through 100 briefings. Lucas sits stunned, realizing his wife hasn't been hiding fear, she's been hiding firepower. The night of Harold's so-called emergency HOA security meeting feels more like a low-budget crime convention than a neighborhood gathering. Folding chairs scrape against the linoleum of the community center, half the crowd whispering nervously, the other half clutching phones ready to record. Kyle and Tony swagger in wearing mismatched tactical gear, Kyle waving real handcuffs and a pistol he clearly doesn't know how to handle, Tony fingering his fake taser like it's a lightsaber prop. Jessica has binders stacked like she's arguing in front of the Supreme Court, though the pages inside are mostly blank forms and doodles. Harold stands at the podium, silver hair gleaming, mask of grandfatherly charm fully dropped. "This ends tonight," he declares, finger-stabbing toward Megan. "She's obstructed lawful security enforcement for weeks." His voice trembles with anger, but he positions his supporters in the room like pawns. Theatrics aside, his goal is clear: force Megan and Lucas to sell and leave. The crowd murmurs, torn between fear and disbelief. Then Kyle and Tony escalate, guns out, weapons aimed at Megan's chest. The room explodes in chaos, neighbors screaming, some diving under tables, others filming with shaky hands. Lucas freezes, heart thundering, realizing this may be the moment he loses his wife. "Please don't hurt her," he shouts, powerless. But Megan isn't powerless. In 3 seconds flat, she moves with surgical precision, a sidestep, a twist, a strike. Kyle's gun clatters to the floor. Tony's taser hand bends at an angle he won't forget, and both men are on the ground in holds that scream Navy combat training. The crowd gasps, then roars. Neighbors who thought she was just a quiet housewife are on their feet, cheering like they're at a championship game. Phones capture every angle, hashtags already forming in teenagers' heads. Lucas stands stunned, whispering the question that's been burning inside him for weeks. "Who are you?" Megan meets his eyes calm and steady. I'm Megan Parker. I train Navy SEALs for a living. And you just pointed a gun at a federal employee. The words detonate in the room. Neighbors erupt again, chanting her name. Kyle sobs. Tony whimpers. Harold tries to slip toward the exit, only to be met by Rachel and her FBI team flashing real badges. Charges fly, impersonating officers, conspiracy, fraud, assault with a deadly weapon. Neighbors shout their own stories of harassment relief, flooding the room. Jessica's makeup streaks as she's unmasked as a career con artist. Harold, the mastermind, sputters excuses about community standards until Rachel lays out a network of 47 defrauded military families across 3 states. His true motive seeps out like venom revenge against the military community that once exposed his shady contracting business. The fallout is swift. Social media devours the footage. Navy wife drops 2 fake cops in 3 seconds. Memes sprout of Kyle's crocodile tears. Harold's mugshot becomes a warning captioned, "Don't mess with veterans' families," and Megan's calm takedown goes viral. The FBI presses charges 5 years for Kyle, 3 for Tony, 4 for Jessica, under one of her many aliases, and 15 for Harold, the ringleader. The neighborhood transforms overnight. A block party erupts on Kyle's foreclosed lawn. Chalk drawings celebrate Megan as a superhero, and the reformed HOA bans intimidation tactics forever. Megan begins free self-defense classes at the community center, her sessions filling faster than rock concerts. The Navy awards her a commendation, neighbors finally learning the truth about the woman baking cookies next door. Lucas's revelation is the most humbling. He thought he was protecting Megan, but she had been protecting him, the neighborhood, and the country all along. Turns out, he tells a local reporter, the strongest person in the room was the one pretending to be ordinary. The wind down comes gently like dusk after a storm. Imagine the yard where it all began, fence still standing tall, children laughing as they chase fireflies across trimmed grass. The sharp edges of fear and betrayal soften into community laughter, neighbors leaning on fences they once argued about. Megan still moves with quiet vigilance, but now her neighbors see her for what she is, strength hidden in plain sight. Lucas sits on the porch swing, coffee in hand, the steam curling into cool night air, watching his wife chat warmly with the very people she once protected in silence. Heroes, historians argue, don't always wear capes or carry medals. Sometimes they carry grocery bags, smile at neighbors, and only reveal their power when pushed to the brink. The lesson lingers like the last rays of sunset. Never underestimate the quiet ones, for inside them may live the fiercest protectors of all. So close your eyes tonight with that thought: safety can come from the most unexpected hearts, and even in the smallest corners of suburbia, extraordinary courage is brewing quietly, waiting steady as breath.